From JBS Studios in Greater New York, this is the JBS News Update with Teisha Bader.
I'm Teisha Bader with the JBS News Update for Tuesday, March the 25th, 2025. Another rocket was fired last night from Gaza at southern Israel. As we reported to you, 2 rockets were fired from Gaza at the town of Sderot and surrounding areas around 7 p.m. local time yesterday evening. Both were intercepted by the IDF. And then another rocket was fired last night around 9 local time. It was also intercepted, and there was no damage or injury reported. Palestinian Islamic Jihad claiming responsibility for both attacks. And the IDF continues to take out terrorist targets in Gaza, including yesterday it said a sniper terrorist from the Beit Hanun battalion of the Hamas terrorist organization, who was also employed, it said, as a journalist at Al Jazeera. The IDF said during the war he carried out attacks and participated in terrorist activities against IDF forces and citizens of the State of Israel, saying this is further proof of the employment of Hamas terrorists in the Al Jazeera media network. The Israeli Air Force took out a commander of the anti-tank division of the southern front of the Hezbollah terrorist organization in Lebanon last night. The IDF said during the war he promoted numerous terrorist plots against the State of Israel and was responsible for transporting operatives and equipping the terrorist organization in southern Lebanon with weapons, and in recent months has continued to promote terrorist plots, posing a threat to the State of Israel and its citizens. And Israeli troops operating inside the buffer zone with Syria came under fire, the IDF said. Israeli forces this morning identified a number of armed terrorists who fired at IDF forces in southern Syria. The force returned fire and an aircraft attacked the terrorists. A hit was identified. No Israeli troops were hurt. A delegation of mayors from across the United States just returned from Israel on a trip sponsored by the American Jewish Committee's Project Interchange and the U.S. Conference of Mayors. Orlando Mayor Buddy Dyer chaired the bipartisan group, which included mayors from Illinois, Michigan, Minnesota, Ohio, Oklahoma, Texas, and Washington. The mayors visited Hostage Square in Tel Aviv and met with hostage families. They also toured Jerusalem, including a visit to Yad Vashem, Israel's memorial to the Holocaust, gaining, the American Jewish Committee said, first-hand insight into the situation in Israel at this critical time, when the nation continues to confront ongoing terror attacks and threats from the Iranian regime and its proxies on multiple fronts, and grapples with the fate of the 59 hostages still being held in Gaza by Hamas, who have now been captive for 536 days. Well, a rabbi revered as a compassionate and thought-provoking voice in the modern Orthodox world has died. 43-year-old Rabbi Eliyahu Fink was killed early Friday morning in a road accident in New Jersey. Rabbi Fink for years led the Pacific Jewish Center, now known as the Shul on the Beach, in Venice Beach, California, and recently relocated to Monsey, New York. Jewish Breaking News calling him a man who built bridges, sparked dialogue, and left a lasting impression on Jewish life and thought. Rabbi Fink leaves behind his wife and 3 children. Columbia University announced several steps it said it is taking to curb anti-Semitism on its campus, including rigorous enforcement of disciplinary rules, non-discrimination and anti-harassment policies, updated security protocols pertaining to protests, and a policy restricting mask wearing and masked harassment and intimidation. This follows the demands laid out by the Trump administration for the school to recoup the $400 million in federal grants that were canceled last week over Columbia's failures to address anti-Semitism on its campus. The Anti-Defamation League said yesterday that the anti-Semitic actions, breaches of conduct codes and law went insufficiently addressed at the school for almost a year and a half. and that now Columbia must be held accountable for putting these commitments into action, saying it's imperative that any new policies respect the civil rights of all students. This must start with the Jewish students whose civil rights have diminished dramatically since October the 7th. Taking a look now at our programming for tonight on JBS for Tuesday, March the 25th at 7 o'clock. Examine the intersection of anti-Semitism, intersectionality, and the feminist movement's response to the sexual violence committed by Hamas on October the 7th, with experts and a 10/7 survivor. At 8, Justin Pine speaks with Eli Beer, founder and president of United Hatzalah, to talk about his extraordinary 3-decade journey of saving lives in Israel, including on October the 7th. At 9, Paula Eizelt is on L'chaim. At 10, it's Good Week Israel. At 10:30, an encore of the news. And coming up next, it's the ILTV's Insider. And that's the JBS News Update for Tuesday, March the 25th, 2025. I'm Teisha Bader. Am Yisrael Chai.